Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka podcast.
Baka. It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the real episode of Baka. We had a false start. We are an anime podcast. Every 2 weeks we come together, we watch an anime that we have picked, we discuss it like we are a book club, we turn the discussion over to our comment sections, we carry on the discussion with you guys from there, and then we move on to the next anime. That's our whole zabang. Yep. And Great. We watched a anime I hadn't even heard of, but that's what Jeremy excels at picking. So let me introduce him. He is the Murtaugh to my Riggs. Jeremy, how you doing?
I don't know that reference.
I am using 80s movie references tonight, and if you don't like it, you can just get out or stay.
Or stay. Well, actually, for this anime, see you later. Bye-bye.
Murtaugh and Riggs would be Lethal Weapon.
What?
Buddy cop, Murtaugh and Riggs. They're the
that was their
names? Yeah, they were. Okay. So how are you, Jeremy? What are you up to?
Like, I should know that. I know Lethal Weapon. I loved that. Mel Gibson. And the other guy that I really liked, but I can't remember his name.
Yeah. Danny Glover.
Great start. Great start.
What you been up to, Jeremy?
Well, actually, we just watched Brightburn. Tanya says, "Hey, you want to watch that Superman subversion?" And I'm like, I don't know. Gory movies aren't for me, but let's try it. And yeah, it's pretty good. But there were lots of sections where I was like, I can't watch this. Neither of us were watching it.
Jeremy hates the gore.
Oh, God.
Anyone I know.
Oh God. But I mean, the idea was very interesting. I think there were a lot of things they could have done better and really taken advantage of the story that they were subverting. But I thought it was good. It was interesting.
My favorite thing I've seen in a review so far was, if Superman wanted to kill you, what could you do?
Nothing at all. You just cry. That's it.
Wait for it to happen.
Yep.
Right. So we also have the Hooch to my Turner. Jason, how are you?
I know that one.
I don't. Fantastic.
That's the dog and the cop.
Turner and Hooch, Tom Hanks and a dog. You're the dog, by the way. Just so we're clear, you are the slobbering mongrel dog that teams up with Tom Hanks in this buddy cop movie.
He was really slobbery.
Like 50% of the plot was that he slobbered everywhere.
Yes. Actually, I do remember growing up with you that I got scared of a movie called Cujo.
Familiar.
Stephen King.
When you said slobbering dog, that was the first thing that came to my mind. And your brother always told me that Cujo was coming to get me. Anyways, sounds like him.
Yep. Spot on. Right. How are you, Jason?
A little nervous going in to get my hand cut into. I got the brace off, but I got this thing I got to get removed. So that's fantastic. But we got Pokemon DX tournament, and that's been a blast. Yeah.
That's like almost like a traditional fighting game, but with Pokemon characters.
Right. So instead of taking the trainer's perspective, you're taking the actual Pokemon's perspective.
Like when you say traditional, you mean like Street Fighter style?
It's like Tekken, but Pokemon. Yeah, it's actually really, really cool. And also you can evolve during the fight and like go like Mega Evolution or like X Evolution, just depending on the situation.
So it's like your Super Saiyan mode for Pokemon.
Yeah. So you'll get
is it on a timer? Does it go back after a certain amount of time? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, actually, I don't know, because the match always ends right really closely after that. So like Mewtwo, he turned into his evolved form. So, and also he's really overpowered in this game, by the way.
As he should be. All right. And my name is Troy. I don't have a buddy cop movie. Maybe I'm the TV version of Lethal Weapon.
You're just the odd couple. You're somebody from the odd couple.
Just somebody. One of them.
Yeah, it's usually one of them. I don't know their names.
That's so great.
Okay. I got to watch the How to Train Your Dragon 3 or the Hidden World. And it made me realize like 2019 is really just the end of so many things. Like just franchises are ending. And I know that the Dragon series has its, huge fan base. But I like it. It's way better than like Kung Fu Panda 3. This definitely felt like a full story arc and ending to the whole story.
Were you just trying to get all the ending, like all the dragon endings done at the same time?
Maybe I just wanted to see a good dragon ending.
That's what it is, yeah.
Everyone else is crapping on Game of Thrones. Why can't I?
That's right. Join in.
I was mediocre with it, for the record. I think people still aren't giving it its credit for its cinematography and acting.
Oh, it's amazing how many stones are being thrown at it since it ended. Like, oh, look how they ruined 8 years. It's like, you got 8 years of storytelling. Give me a break.
There are clearly writing issues in season 8. I mean, there's no way to lie about that. But man, the camera work, the acting of what the actors were given to do. Emilia Clarke's, her scenes in the final episode are just fantastic. She sold the heck out of it with almost hardly any dialogue in English. It's amazing.
It seems like the spectacle. Yeah, it seems like the spectacle of it is beautiful and the skill is beautiful, but the underlying story just has some logic issues and problems.
Well, if you take a series and realize it's not just one person making it, there's a lot of top people in their field making this show. It's just somewhere along the line, someone choosing where the story went, made decisions. However, everyone needs to admit it is currently the best ending to Game of Thrones that exists.
That's a real cheap cop out, but I'll admit it.
Hey, I want him to write and prove me wrong. I'm waiting on you, Mr. Martin. We should talk about the anime we watched.
Really?
Doesn't want to. Yeah, we have to. We watched Double Decker! Doug and Kirill.
Why'd you put the exclamation point?
That's part of the name.
Yeah. The Baka 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 is known for its exclamation points, so that's why I picked it.
Just called out to you.
That's right.
We're like you. We're just like you.
That's right.
It's kind of stupid. No. So that's what we watched. It's made by the same people, I believe, that made Tiger and Bunny. And Jeremy, you said it's even in the same universe?
Yeah, it's supposed to be in the universe prior to the events of Tiger and Bunny. And considerably prior.
Tiger and Bunny, I haven't personally seen it, but I've heard really good things about it. So we kind of knew I knew a little bit about that going into this, but we almost had no idea what to expect when we started that. So let's start off with our non-spoiler reviews. Jeremy, this was your choice. This was Jeremy's choice.
Just drop that in.
Why don't you tell us what you thought of it?
I was really hoping for something more. I think like the first half of it, it had a lot of dull moments, but it did make me laugh. I had a lot more laughs in the first half. And then I think that it tried to get a little bit too serious. I was really expecting more parody and more jokes. And I don't think it delivered. At least it didn't deliver enough to satisfy me compared to what it was doing in the first half. Yeah, I see Jason agrees with that. But I was really curious when I saw, I know when I go to pick the anime, I pay attention to the scores, and I try not to pick anything that's less than like a 6 unless it really stands out to me because, you don't want to troll on purpose, right? But the score seemed to change, and I thought, oh, there must be some kind of crazy twist. Just stick with it. Just wait for it. It's going to be worth it. There's a reason everybody decided it was worth a higher score later, and I don't understand why now. So, no, I'm not a big fan of it.
Okay, Jason, how about you?
This anime seems like it was written for somebody, and that was not me. I don't know. I think Jeremy hit a lot of things that I felt during watching it was trying to be a lot of things and couldn't focus on one. And with the whole idea of being a parody, but not a parody, but a satire, but also we're going to tell a buddy cop story, but in a really tropey way so we can kind of like throw stones at the tropiness. I don't know. It didn't work for me. It was too silly.
I'm getting Dragon Pilot flashbacks all of a sudden.
I'm always trying to pick something that's like unusual, and sometimes it bites you in the butt.
Hey, I like Dragon Pilot. I am a person who is thankful that we watched Dragon Pilot.
What was that?
Anyway.
Lick, 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 or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love you, Muzzle Town.
I'm not supposed to say expletives on this show, right?
Nope.
So I will go ahead and give my non-spoiler review.
Okay.
I'm pretty much in the same ballpark as Jeremy. The humor through most of it landed for me, but in the second half, they kind of went another way. And actually, my biggest issue with it is that I thought they were going a certain way with it. And I was like, wow, that is super ballsy. And, you're just calling out anime tropes left and right. And you're like, we're not going to be that. And then it becomes that. It's like, yeah, we're just going to embrace it and do this anyway, even though we just pointed out how stupid it is. And the story it tells and the characters it uses to tell them, I didn't think held up enough to tell that story well. But the comedy that's in there, I thought worked really well, as long as that was the focus of what was happening. And like Jeremy pointed out, in the second half, it's much less the focus, and I think this anime suffers because of that. All right. Then we go on to the opening and the closing. What'd you guys think?
Opening song was good, but the visuals were not
in the anime at all.
But also, the ending was, I don't know. I didn't like the song. I didn't like the visuals. I didn't like it.
Yeah. The ending song, the outro had some kind of catchy tune in it somewhere that always got me, but for the most part I wasn't a great fan of it. Or the intro also had some kind of catch, or maybe I'm mixing up the two, I'm not sure. There was a catchy note in there somewhere, but overall I wasn't not a big fan of that either.
The intro to me was pretty normal, pretty standard. I mean, I didn't go out of my way to skip it, but I didn't go out of my way to hear it either. I might like go grab a drink or something. I actually love the ending theme to this. It felt to me like Beastie Boys met J-pop, and the visuals of them like all stacked on top of each other spinning down. I was like, oh, that's fine, but I love the song. And I've listened to it a couple times on my own. So that's what I thought of the ending. I mean, who doesn't love Beastie Boys meets J-pop? That's so cool. All right, let's go into our spoiler section and really get into the meat and bones of this anime. There's so much talk. Why you gotta be like that? All right, so spoiler warning from here on out. Plot and jokes will be spoiled, and there's nothing worse than a spoiled joke. Once you've heard the joke and everyone's laughing along with it, that's great. But we actually had someone comment that they couldn't follow along with our episode because they hadn't watched it yet. And you know what? We're proud of you.
Yeah,
that is the right decision to make.
Work.
It was for The Promised Neverland. It's like, don't spoil that. So, all right. So now we're in the spoiler section. Man, guys, I thought this was going to be some kind of, halfway through this anime, I thought we were going to be talking about some kind of different world. Like, oh, what is this? Like, maybe it's in the body or something. Maybe this isn't even real. And it's a world with two suns, but it doesn't matter where it is. It's an Earth with two suns. It's got humans on it. The architecture is weird. Has
pipes everywhere.
Vines, vine pipes growing out of circle hospitals. And I thought, like, oh, that must mean something. It doesn't. So we start the anime with like a bad guy who is mutated and running around all super powered, and the cops are like, we don't know how to handle this. And this special agent cop shows up, and he does his eye scan, pulls out a 5-shooter that looks like a 6-shooter, but it's only a 5-shooter, makes a special bullet from his fanny pack, and then she says, take your medicine, and shoots the guy. This is one of our main characters. This is actually Doug. So you guys can talk about this intro scene, but also, what did you think of Doug?
Doug was probably one of the more interesting characters. Unfortunately, they just kind of hand everything to him, but literally everything. And no one's ever really in danger when he's around, and he's the guy that's you can always rely on. And he was okay enough to drive the story.
I think the majority of his character development happened before this story. But there is a little bit that happens in this anime in regards to like how he treats his new partner. There is some development in that relationship and how he behaves, but for the most part, the things that really established who he is as a person definitely happened prior to this. And he just kind of holds to those things. I like his snarkiness. I like how he's very capable at everything. Yet at the same time, I kind of hate that he's very capable because just like you brought out, Jason, everything's kind of handed to him. Like anytime he encounters a problem where, people do something that's unexpected, he already expected that. And he's able to just analyze people's behavior at a glance and predict what they're going to do. And if it looks like he was wrong, nope, he was actually right, because he knew that next step too. He's basically like a joke version. Well, not even a joke. He's like Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes is a joke version of himself. So he's like Sherlock Holmes kind of. So he's okay. I enjoyed some of the jokes, but at the same time, I hate him. So
the way they introduced Doug and what his character is, I was super into that he's not some superhero. He's not, the best in the world. I'm just a guy doing my job. I punch out on time. I come in and I work hard and I take half days when I need them. And like, this isn't crazy special adventures we're having. We have a job, we have a service. And I was like, I am super into that. Especially since, the character we're about to meet is like, I'm going to be a hero and save the day. And about halfway through the story, they just kind of dump it. They're like, oh, here's his tragic backstory. And here's, he does super care and he does want to save the day. And I'm like, boy, no. This was so cool the way it was. And so while I love Doug who he is, I don't really love Doug and who he becomes through his character arc. Mm-hmm. Okay, then we go right after that scene. We meet our actual main character, our point of view of the audience. This is Kirill. He is a young police officer.
Jason's favorite character,
who's always in trouble because he's always trying to rush off and save the day instead of like doing his job and being at his post. I thought that was going somewhere, but it's not. This is Kirill. And he's our first narration in the episode. He's like, this is the story of how I became the greatest hero of the city. And I'm like, oh, that sounds familiar, My Hero Academia. And then we'll meet another narrator in a minute. But what did you guys think of Kirill? Come on, Jason. You got this.
God, he's just so bland, I think is the best thing I could say. Because everything about him was tropey. And obviously it was written on purpose. Unfortunately, the jokes just didn't land. Or at least they didn't for me. Nearly every situation he's in that's the play on that particular trope just fell flat for me. Except for one scene where we find out something about another character and he's like, did you know this about it? And it's common knowledge to everybody. And he's like, oh my gosh, really? She is? So that was probably the best line, but I didn't care. Nothing about what this anime brought to the table with this character made me care about him. I think is the problem.
Mm-hmm. I thought that he had some funny moments in the beginning because he was the butt of jokes, and I liked him for that. Especially the narrator jokes, because he always was oblivious and thought everything was about him and that he was going to become this great hero. And the narrator just kept reality checking him. Just like, nope, ain't about you. And for that reason, he was entertaining. But as a character standalone, I agree. He was actually kind of boring. Everybody around him seemed to surpass him in all the important ways. And his big gimmick seemed to be his desire to succeed and just his industriousness and being the MacGuffin of the story in the end. I don't know. Yeah, he wasn't great for me either.
So much like Doug, I absolutely love the premise of this character as he's presented. He is this mentally, he's Midoriya. He's every shonen hero. He's like, I'm gonna become the greatest hero, and I have all this willpower, and I'm gonna do all this stuff, and I'm always willing to rush in and save the day. But the reality of the character is that he has no core strength. He's really weak. He looks like a woman and constantly gets misinterpreted. People are always hitting on him. Just like Doug, that premise to me works really well. That's a really funny premise, but it's kind of abandoned again about halfway through, and he kind of gets to become the heroic character. He's able to do a super big jump, and he is the special chosen one, and he is a special hero. And I'm like, it was really funny when he wasn't. It worked. Like I said, the whole twisting of the main shonen hero of that trope. And that's what this anime does really good, is it takes those tropes and it twists them in our face, and it has a narrator point out they're stupid. Mm-hmm. And that works great. And then, like I said, it embraced them in the second half, and I wasn't for it. And then, right after he gets done telling us how he's going to be the greatest hero, and this is a story about heroes, the real narrator comes on and says, no, this is a story about detectives just doing their job, and this guy is an idiot, and you shouldn't listen to him. I want to talk about the narrator because I think he is the greatest thing in this entire anime. He constantly made me laugh, the way he constantly calls out anime tropes and subversions. Even when in a sad moment, he's like, well, this is going to happen. Why am I so happy? That's how they wrote my part. I always laughed. So what did you guys think of the narrator and how he's used in the story?
A little irritating at first, but he kind of grew on me, because especially when he, like, they were about to do the shonen anime, like, oh, here's why I'm this way, or this is how I got this scar, or whatever. And they would go into like a screen cap of that like first narration, and then he would cut it off. Be like, this is gonna take way too long. Let's get back to the story.
Yeah, that was my favorite part about the narrator. There were a couple of scenes where he's like, so the story about how they met was really boring, so we're just going to skip that and move straight to what's happening now. Absolutely love that. I love the narrator. Narrator was great.
Yeah, he's probably the freshest, most interesting thing about this. So
Mm-hmm. There were even times where it sounded like a Japanese game show, like one of those really funny ones where they have to, like, contort their bodies and fit through the styrofoam opening as it's moving towards them over a platform on top of water or something. Really
I watched the English dub, as you know. You did sub, I did dub. Jason, I think you did dub too.
Correct.
The narrator was kind of like a Motown jiving, like, oh my god, this is the way it's going down, and that totally worked for me. I thought his delivery was great. I did go back and watch the scene for Jason's Baka breakdown in sub and got to hear him.
Not at all like that.
Yeah, it was very much how you described it. But yeah, I liked both.
Cool.
So we have Kirill. We meet his chief of police who doesn't like him. We meet one of the guys on his force, Jefferson, who's like the best ever and just takes his money because he owes him money, but he takes like this pot of bills from him. Jefferson's like the best cop in their precinct. Yeah. And then we come to him on his day off, and his weird landlady, who I thought was going to have a backstory that tied into everything, but nope, she just shows up sometimes and gets involved.
I don't understand.
We'll come to that at the end. She needs her cat found, and since he's late on his rent, she makes him do it. He's a cop. He's supposed to help. So he has this whole searching for the cat all day. And he ends up in this warehouse where the cat has kittens, and at the same time, there's a shootout. He falls asleep and wakes up to a shootout.
Yeah,
missed all the screaming up to that point. Not till the bullets are flying did he wake up. And then at the same time, Doug, who has heard about this criminal, also shows up and comes out of a pipe. In like they're hanging out in the ceiling, and Doug just like pops out of the pipe. He's like, "Hey, I need your help." And he's like, "Oh, why don't you just come out of there?" He's like, "Nope, my foot's stuck. I'm stuck in this pipe, and you need to help me."
I thought there were some powers involved or something. I was like, how did he get through the pipe? Does he have like strange locomotion, shape-shifting powers or something? Maybe he's not coming out because he doesn't want to come out. Very confusing.
So to me, a really funny joke here was that Doug tells Kirill, if you help, I'll get you promoted to sergeant posthumously. meaning after you die.
Yeah, posthumously, exactly.
And Kirill misses that, but the narrator makes sure that we recognize that he misses it. So what Kirill does is jump down there butt naked and claim to be a time traveler.
Terminator call out. It was actually great. Really fun. I like that.
And not only a great Terminator call out, they played like the first 6 notes of the Terminator theme song. As soon as that happened, I'm like, oh, this is going to be really silly and really funny. We're going full spoof with this guy stuck in the pipe, and I was on board. This was actually not what I expected. At this point, I was pretty happy.
This was about the moment I texted you guys and was like, I hate both of you.
Troy and I are actually loving it at this point because I was too. I thought this is good. I'm confused, but I like it.
How are you not loving a Terminator reference in an anime?
Because it was done so dumb. That's silliness.
It's really funny. He's butt naked. He's like, I'm a time traveler.
Yeah,
it's stupid. That was what he came up with. He was literally above him. He could have landed on him.
I need a minute. Okay. And this distraction basically works. They come up with a plan where he signals, and Doug's able to give this guy his medicine. The magic bullets are medicine that counter a drug that the bad guys are taking called Anthem. And if you take Anthem, it basically mutates you into a superhuman, or it can if you take too much. There's overdrive, and then there's overdosing. It's not that important.
It's also lethal 30% of the time,
which we never see.
Yeah. Yep. It's like off-screen death in one episode, and that's it.
Right.
But yeah, then you get shot with the bullet, and you're fine? Or does the bullet kill you?
It leaves a hole in your clothing and presumably your body, but you're fine immediately. Very weird. Anime magic, I guess.
Kirill gets arrested by accident as the naked guy wearing the bad guy's coat because he covered himself up. And so his chief yells at him, but then he gets transferred to Doug's department, which is the 7-0. They are a special crime unit made specifically for battling this drug Anthem. Only this drug Anthem. They do have some ties into the military, so they're kind of a separate, we get to do it our way. We don't answer to everybody else, but we still have people we answer to because that's made very clear. Because, the next character we meet is the boss, who is Travis. And he's like, and he's another trope that I love that they twisted, because usually the department head, you think of Ghost in the Shell, right? Like, he's wise. He's been doing this for a whole time. This guy is 100% career man. He's here for himself. All of this is just stepping stools to him. And he even admits it out loud. Like, he's playing the part of Bosley in Charlie's Angels. And you think he's rocking it, and no one respects him. No one likes him. He's kind of an idiot. What did you guys think of Travis? Because I thought he was very funny.
I did too, actually. He was the one character that I was able to latch on as someone I could hate, but at the same time laugh at. He's got a great moment where the girls call him out on, basically, because he's doing this Charlie's Angel Bosley thing, call him out. And that's workplace gender discrimination. That's not been okay for a long time. He's like sweating. He does this a lot too. Like, he knows he's doing something just wrong. He's just sweating like crazy.
It'll like zoom in on one of his eyes, and it'll kind of squint a little bit, or he'll wink at you or something. Yep.
And then he insists that everyone has a code name, and they're like, we don't really use them that much. But he gives a code name. So Doug, his nickname is Veteran, and so they nickname Kirill Rookie. And then we get the credits, and then we come to the end credit scene, and a new agent joins, and they're like, okay, that's Rookie now, because you're not the Rookie. You missed it by an hour. A day. It's the next day. And they're like, oh, you're not Rookie no more. They want to name him Perm. And that was Travis's whole thing was like, I just want to have an agent with a perm.
Yep.
And the cop who was going to take Kirill's spot refused to get a perm, so they hired Kirill instead. But he doesn't want to be called perm. He changes it to Okapa, which is like a bowl cut. Jeremy, didn't you?
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah. I can't remember what I found, but yeah, I think it also meant like young or something. I don't remember, but in some way it could be interpreted in a negative way compared to perm.
we do meet the two other agents, the rookie and her partner, and we're also introduced to the double-decker system, which sounds just like standard cops have a partner. There's nothing special. They're like, I created the double-decker system.
Yeah.
Did you just give a name to giving cops partners? Because that's been done forever.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
It's just a Travis thing.
The weird thing is, like, double-decker buses are a big deal in this town, too.
Yeah, there's even one that plays a big part in the last episode.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of Pink and Kay?
I actually liked Pink as a character. She was entertaining. Always wanted to go off on her own. She's the independent spirit, and basically Kay was brought in to temper her and maybe teach her the value of having a bit of teamwork and a bit of reliability. I liked her as a character. Kay was interesting just because, she was the brains to kind of stand next to the other rookie main characters, Kirill's not so braininess, or perhaps savantness. I don't know. In some episodes, they pretend he has savant moments. So
I want to talk about that when we get there, because I have a theory why that might be. But
yeah,
Jason, what did you think of them?
I thought they were okay. Actually, they were some of the more tolerable characters. But I just didn't. I don't know the way they did their stories. I just didn't care that much. Because Pink was similar to Doug, where she always knew what to do, always could kind of foresee, or like they could see tells that were not shown in the anime. And like, amazing gunplay skills. And then you've got Kay, who's supposed to be this, I don't even know how to put it, like a fish out of water kind of
top
character.
Of her class, high achiever brought in.
Yeah, but new to this type of work and in over her head. Mm-hmm. Just didn't care.
No, for the most part, I don't enjoy Pink's archetype in stories. Kind of I'm the bad bee because I feel like being it, and I'll tell everyone off. I did enjoy her frequent cursing. Did they bleep her in the sub?
They bleeped her a lot, and they constantly scribbled out her middle fingers.
Also, the bleeping seemed a little inconsistent, because sometimes she was allowed to curse, and sometimes she just bleep, 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 bleep.
She could say the S word, but she couldn't say the F word.
Okay.
I think I can't remember if that happened or not. I don't know if that's just dub or sub. Huh.
So I enjoyed her tirades, but for them, and there's nothing really wrong with her character. Like I said, it's just the archetype isn't really my favorite. I like Kay as a straight man to all this wackiness that's going on. She worked for me in that sense, and that, like you said, she's the other rookie coming in, so she's just as fresh and new to this, and not freaked out like everyone else is, and just no one's lying to her about what Yuri is. Yeah. She's just a normal lady, and that kind of helped with make some of the other jokes land. So I like Kay. I found her appealing. In the next episode, it starts with Kirill being fired. It's been a week. He's like, hey, I made a mistake. I hired too many people. I am horrible at my job. And he tells Travis, like, give me 1 week and I will prove myself. And Travis is like, all right. And the narrator's like, how would that even work? That doesn't change any of the problem here.
Yep.
Both idiots. Again, and I was like, okay, narrator, yep. I'm here for you right now. You're doing a bang up job. But the week goes by with mostly just desk work and regular detective boring stuff, nothing thrilling, which I was into. Then he gets some advice from a random old man in a bar, like you do. And he goes to his informant. He has an informant, and he hears about an Anthem smuggling thing. So him and...
Have you described Anthem yet?
Kind of. That it's basically it's like a giant nicotine patch you put on that turns you into a mutant.
Yeah, always goes on your neck.
Mm-hmm. Basically makes you Captain America on its best day and Beast on your worst. But yeah, you mutate in different ways, and
or like the Thing.
yeah. It's injecting yourself with the T virus at the because I gotta win against the good guys, so here's T virus, and oh no, I turned into this thing, and that's exactly what it is.
Right.
Bad guys get cornered, they slap it on themselves in this, and they turn it into a random monster that the good guys have to fight.
Which they don't ever really fight. They just kind of, hey, let's do our Sailor Moon moment with our special fanny pack, and then shoot you, and it's done.
Yeah. And I'm kind of fine with that because, like, no matter how superhuman you got, you couldn't dodge the bullet, right? The hard part, you have to have time to scan them to know what the medicine you need to apply is. But yeah, it's not very thrilling. It's not like this long strategic.
Can we talk about the stupid fanny packs for a sec?
Yeah.
Yeah. In the middle of the last moment of a battle, we will get this whole entire sequence of them scanning and then selecting the right meds and then a bullet being produced where they can grab it. They then have to, most times, put it... No. They put it into their magazine to then put it into their gun and chamber it. And then fire. It's like you did this in a fraction of a millisecond? Really?
Very well practiced and trained.
And it was nauseating every time.
It was kind of stupid. It was like with this technology level you got, there's way more efficient ways to do this.
That's why I bring up the Sailor Moon comparison, because it's like that's their Sailor Moon dance, right? Where she's spinning around and like waving the wand and getting ready, and then bubbles or whatever else.
And you have to say, time to take your medicine.
Yeah, you got to do some kind of quip about medicine. Yep.
They check out the smuggling ring. He gets a gun from Doug that says Derek, and this is when he kind of figures out that Doug had an old partner named Derek, and he's taking his place. I absolutely love that joke. It was clear where it was going, but I absolutely loved it. And then they had to go and ruin it. They find monkeys. They then just have a conversation in the parking lot. They talk about Kirill's missing sister. He asked Doug, like, what's your thing in life? Doug's like, I'm just a cop. I just do cop stuff. Why are we talking?
I actually, it is pretty hilarious when he was like, yeah, my tragic backstory was da 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 da, and he gets like 3 sentences in, and he realizes that he's just not even listening.
That happens a couple times, and I loved it every time because I'm like, yes, no one cares about your monologue.
Nobody cares.
Yes, when he's the butt of the joke, it actually worked for me.
Yeah, I'd agree with
that. After this, a prison riot breaks out, and it's Anthem related, and they realize this is related because it's across the water from where they are, and that the smuggling ring and this jailbreak are all connected. So they go back to the warehouse where the smugglers were, and there's 3 like diehard criminals in there, and Doug's like, nope, we out. Because Kirill's like, okay, we're gonna go in there, we're gonna bust them. And Doug's like, oh no, that's death. We're not going in there. There's a serial killer in there. We are not going in there. But Doug points out, like, we are Anthem only. We will call the cops and we will tell them where these guys are, and they will deal with that. We need to go find the Anthem user that escaped the prison because he's not there. They go back and they check the ambulances. They find out the ambulance driver is one of the Anthem users.
He's just too handsome.
Yeah, because the Anthem drug mutated him into a handsome man, so he could escape.
Well, what it seems like is each time somebody uses Anthem, they always scream out some kind of word like handsome, beautiful, strong, or enduring, or something like that. I can't remember some of the others, but every one of them like hollers out a word. So it's almost like it's the epitome of whatever it is that they're so obsessed about taking control over them.
I didn't notice that. I guess I just assumed it's kind of making you closer to perfect, like a perfect version of yourself.
Yeah, I think so. But I think it did it like in a flavor. Because I don't know. Maybe they weren't super clear with it in the dub, but sometimes it reminded me of Food Wars, the way that characters will like get that moment where they're just like, in ecstasy and they'll like, ah. But with these guys, it was always a word. There was always a word. It was really weird.
We get a car chase here. We find out that their cop cars have turbo modes, which is used one more time in the whole anime series early on and then never comes back up again. Like, I was really disappointed because like, oh, car turbo mode, that's really important, and it was not really important. And I was disappointed because I'm a Knight Rider fan. Yeah, all the 80s references are coming tonight. All of them.
That's what you could have been. You could have been Knight Rider to the guy that drove Knight Rider.
He was the Knight Rider. The driver is Knight Rider.
Knight Rider was the name of the car.
No, Kit is the name of the car. You need to go back to the 80s and just like relive them.
Oh, it's been too long.
Who doesn't love David Hasselhoff?
That's the guy. Yes.
I'm David Hasselhoff.
Hooray! Jason got a shout out for a reference in our last episode, and I've been jealous ever since. I'm just going to do all the references. You will acknowledge my effort.
None.
Doug shoots the ambulance driver. He's arrested. They go for a drink, and then he asks Doug, like, what is it? What did you want to be a cop for? You said there was 2 things you want to eradicate. Is it crime? He's like, no, you can't eradicate crime. That's insane. He's like, I want to eradicate poverty and class, and then just leaves. And I'm like, okay, that's really a little more ambitious than crime, isn't it? Yeah. Do you have a plan for that? Like, you just drop that? Okay, all right, bye, man. And then Kirill, even though he didn't really get what he wanted to prove to Travis, he's allowed to stay. He gets a uniform, and his code name is changed to Buzzcut. This time permanently.
Yeah.
I was hoping he'd have a new haircut name every episode.
That would have been better, I think, actually.
I was into it. I was like, yeah, let's just do everything. Yeah. Mohawk.
Go through the book.
Mohawk.
Our next episode, we kind of learn a little bit about their technology and who makes it. We meet Dr. Apple, who, I like that he was this kind of eccentric inventor, and every time he makes something, they're like, you use this for perfume on people, don't you? Yes, he's like, no, I would never do that.
But then he gets red, and yeah, he kind of does.
He crossed his mind, at least.
Yes.
What'd you guys think of Dr. Apple Bieber?
Yes. It's another Bieber. I was so happy when I heard the last name.
My favorite part is everyone refused to call him doctor until he did something actually decent. But like, if he's just doing normal stuff, like they kept calling him Apple, he's like, doctor. And they're like, oh, okay, Apple. He's like, doctor.
He would get really upset.
Please call me doctor. What did you think of him, Jeremy?
Yeah, he was entertaining. Pretty much everything you guys said. I did like when he came out with, like, the episode really does a good job of saying, yeah, these are awesome gadgets. These are men gadgets. Guys would love these gadgets. They're awesome. And like, everybody's standing around the table, because they're mostly girls. They're standing around the table like, this is stupid. This stuff's stupid. And then Doug's like, I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. And I'm like, yes. Because, I mean, come on, like rocket skates, a rocket pack, and then also like a video feed link for your eye. Totally cool. That's awesome.
Some of the most impractical equipment ever.
Yeah, no, not at all. It's wonderful.
There's a scene in here about where they're talking about the different gun styles and how like it's always the same gun, but you can modify it and make it bigger. Sniper rifle version, machine gun version. But it's always got to have the same base. And he's like, yeah, just start with something small and then figure out what your preference is. Meanwhile, Kirill is over in the shooting range with this giant version, and he shoots and he just goes flying backwards. And you're like, oh man, that guy has no core strength. I'm like, yeah, that's hilarious.
I laughed hard at that one.
I did not.
And Kay's over there with just like a little handgun. She's being smart, right? But he's just so oblivious and so full of himself.
So him and Doug are given a new assignment where they have to go away to investigate something. And he wants to get Doug to be his buddy. And he's trying to figure out, like, how do I bond with this guy? His landlady's like, oh, you get donuts. So he goes in the morning to bring him donuts. He's like, hey, buddy, I got you us donuts. And Doug's like, I'm watching my carbs. And walks away. And and Kay's coming with him. And Kirill turns to Kay. He's like, eat them.
So pissed.
And then she does, and he gets pissed when Doug's like, I'm hungry. He's like, give me the donuts.
And she won't. It's great. She like looks at him and pulls the donuts.
No, she'd finished them. They were all gone.
Oh, is that what it was? Because I saw her like
The box was empty.
Because and we find out in this episode, she's a foodie. So like she was like delighted. This whole sequence worked for me.
I enjoyed it.
Boy, I feel so bad for Jason. He just doesn't have the laughter inside. Okay, so in this case, they go undercover as a TV crew. They're investigating a workers' strike at a factory. They talk to the union leader, Harry Bottoms.
That was good. I like that. They didn't call it out in the sub.
Yeah, we found out there's a difference in the dub and the sub. In the sub, he just comes up and says his name is Harry Bottoms, and that's the whole joke. In the dub, he comes up and says, my name is Harry Bottoms, and Kirill goes, Harry Bottoms? And that's the joke that the Kirill's reacting to it, which I think is very different. Like, I prefer the dub in this situation, and they only got away with it because I noticed Kirill's back is to the camera. You can't see his mouth, so they could add that extra line. But I thought it was good. Mm-hmm. They talk to him, and they basically complain about union stuff, like, hey, the factory's working us too hard, blah, 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 all this stuff. And Doug does his head tappy thing where he has an idea.
It reminded me of in Irio when the brother would flick his beads behind his ear. And I love that.
3 people got that reference.
Well,
it's the 3 of us.
You know what I'm talking about. That's right. This was him flicking the beads, and I was totally cool with that.
Flicking that. Never mind.
Okay. And then they go investigate the factory next. They talk to the foreman there, and they're suspicious, but they don't find anything. Kirill's like, I got a hunch, so I'm going to stay behind. That night, he spots the trucks leaving the factory. He chases them down or pulls them over. There's no anthem found in the trucks. Then he calls Dr. Apple and asks about Derek, the old partner. And he's like, Derek was the perfect partner. You know, you always was there for Doug, and he was perfect for Doug. And then he goes on a kind of Kay comes up to Kirill and asks him out. And he's like, oh my God, the rookie likes me. You know, she's got this crush on me. And she's just a foodie who didn't want to wander this new town alone. So she's got all these food spots she wants to go to. But then we find out that the union leader and the foreman are actually in on this together. The whole sending barrels out was all a distraction, and they turn on each other because of the cops. I mean, it doesn't really matter. This all leads to a big fight with the foreman turns into a giant blob monster. Who's trying to kill the union leader. Kirill makes himself the bait to slow him down so they can scan him, and then they manage to eject him and arrest them both.
Yeah, I mean there is a way to explain it, but I don't think it's important.
Right. The important part of this plot is that it introduces the Bamboo Man, who is a man behind the scenes who is supplying Anthem to these different problems. Mm-hmm. And he's the one who put Anthem in the foreman in the first place.
Yep.
And then Kirill gets his own gun, specially modified for him. It's powerful, but won't kick him in the face.
Powerful and purple.
And then he's like, Doug, I want to talk about your dead partner soon. And he runs away. Doug's like, he thinks my partner died? That's weird. And then we find out that Derek is very much still alive. He's been in the hospital since he was attacked by Espinoza is the name of the evil gang.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now he's a bartender, and he's retired.
It's his dream.
It's always been his dream to be a bartender. Guys, I love Derek. I just love that there's this really smart cop guy who's like, nope,
I'm done.
Done with all that. I'm just gonna go cook microwave fries and beans and put it on a plate and run the worst bar ever.
Yep.
And no one ever is there except for the 5 detectives.
Yep. Even his friends are like, should we go to Derek's? Oh, God, no.
No, we don't want to go there. And he has no money to pay his employee, and he has no money to pay back loans. Yeah, failure.
We do get to meet our other agents in this episode, too. So let's talk about them. First, we have, let's talk about them together. Max and Yuri, who are the other partners. What did you guys think of Max and Yuri?
Yeah, I guess Max's story was okay. So I kind of cared about her. There's not much to Yuri because, well, she's a robot.
Yuri's a robot.
Everybody knows she's a robot.
Everybody knows she's a robot.
But for some reason, Kirill thinks nobody knows she's a robot.
Because Doug tells them. No one knows.
Well, and he leans over to Doug and is like, Doug, I have to tell you something. It's important, but don't tell anybody because I don't know if it'll hurt her feelings. But Yuri's a robot. He's like, oh my God, really? And he's like, he knows everyone knows.
Yeah. And at that point, I was actually wondering if it was true or if the narrator was just playing a joke on us, if it was satire and she's just a person who, had her own quirkiness and funniness. But yeah, no, she genuinely is a robot. I liked her for that reason. I have a soft spot for those characters, regardless. Max, as a character, I wrote down a quote that I think sums up her character perfectly, and it's Max became a policeman after she couldn't go to the prom. That's a quote from the subbed version that explains Max's backstory in a nutshell. And for me, that's about as complex as her character gets. Oh. And so, yeah, I think that she's basically a character that they thought of how she should look first and then came up with a backstory to try and justify it. And it's fine. It's interesting, but it just didn't feel like it flowed very well to me. It seems silly.
I liked Max. Yes, her backstory, that is a little weak. I'll admit that. But do we even get the backstory of anyone else? I mean, she's the only one with an actual backstory. Even Doug's like, why'd you become a cop? I care about these two things, but we find out he cares about those two things after he became a cop. So he just became a cop because he became a cop, which I was cool with. I'm like, yeah, that's perfect. So Max's story, I don't really care that her backstory was weak because none of these characters' backstories matter. No. But I did like I like that she wasn't just one note. She wasn't, hey, I'm the tough girl, so I'm tough. She was, I'm a tough girl, but I didn't used to be a tough girl. I'm actually really good. That she had levels to her, and most of the characters don't. So that was at least a little refreshing. And I thought Yuri was really nice, and she has probably one of the most actual emotion, close to an emotional scene in the entire anime. And she was really cool when she fought.
Yeah. Yeah, Yuri's moment is probably the best moment for me. I actually really enjoyed that one the most. And then they wrote.
And the running joke about the robot thing was one of my favorite things about this whole thing. I loved every time it came up. Okay, this episode is actually, though, about Pink, whose real name is...
Deanne?
Deanne.
Yeah.
And Kay, and they... get a case where they investigate a club, they go undercover, they find a drug user, but it's not Anthem. Deanne wants to arrest him anyway. Kay's like, this isn't our jurisdiction. He ends up getting away because of their fighting. And they both go drinking in separate places. It's really kind of, why did Deanne even want a partner? She usually doesn't use the double-decker system.
And she didn't want one. She was assigned to her. Yeah. Travis decided for her.
They did say she chose because...
I didn't catch that.
The character had the same name as her dog. And that's why she's always like, I'll give you a treat later, and will you bark for me?
I remember that, but I thought that's why she was okay with it. I didn't think that she chose her. I could be wrong. I could be misremembering.
Probably doesn't make a ton of difference either way. Yeah. But basically, Kay goes back to her old sergeant and is like, hey, I need some advice. He takes her undercover back to the club, and he's giving her advice on how to be undercover, and then he knocks her out. He's like, oh, by the way, I was the bad guy the whole time. And he's selling fake Anthem. It's stupid how it's all connected. That her old sergeant is also Deanne's old partner.
I don't know. I don't think he's her old sergeant. He is like, wasn't he a classmate that also applied for the position, but she got picked over him?
With Pink, yes, but Kay was under... He was Kay's superior, so Kay went back to him asking for help. So he's also, the fact he knows both of them so well, I had that connection. But yeah, he's selling fake Anthem. He Yuri and Kirill get captured because they came to help, and they just get captured.
I like how nobody comes for them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he is with Yuri, right?
Yeah, Yuri's the Terminator.
K does come for not K.
Max.
Max does come for Yuri.
Yeah,
but Doug doesn't come.
Doug doesn't care.
See, you're laughing. You liked it.
I every time he's a complete jerk, I did smile a little bit.
Me too.
So basically, he tries to put Pink into a trap and kill her. It doesn't work. They chase him down. He slaps on Anthem. He turns into a monster, and they defeat him.
Yeah, he's like some kind of weird vomit monster.
And that's basically that episode. And then they're okay with being partners, even though Pink's always like, "I'm gonna do this my way. That's efficient." He's like, "I'm gonna do it by the book."
Mm-hmm. Best team ever.
I really, really enjoyed this next episode, episode 5. It starts with 2 men being led down death row to their final meals, and one of them is Zabel. And we're going to talk about him, but I want to wait till we get to the end of this episode, then we'll discuss him. He basically gets his food, and he's like, "Hey, I have to confess to a 6th murder. I can tell you about the 6th murder. He's on death row for 5 murders. Like, I did a 6th, and he only will tell Doug." And basically, he was part of the Espinosa gang. He was the bottom ranked. He was Z, and for B, he killed A. So every member of the gang is named after a letter. A is the top, Z is the bottom. And he's like, I'll tell you where I hid the body. And so they go and they dig up where he said the body is, and only 7-0 is allowed to investigate this. No one else cares. He's got literally the day before he's executed, and everyone's like, it doesn't really matter to us. So 7-0 is racing against the clock. They dig up, and they only find a foot, but they do confirm is the foot of A, or Doug does, because he takes meticulous notes. This should have been a big clue that only a part of the body was where this guy's like, "I want to help, but I'm only going to give you 1 foot." But then he's like, "Hey, I'll tell you where the rest of the body is, but I want a deal. And I want to not be executed." So Doug agrees. They take him with them. They find the body, and then the Bamboo Man, or B, which is also B, attacks the police. And he's like this superhuman. He's got blonde hair. He's clown
You're
makeup.
a Joker from Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah, I can see that. Mm-hmm. And he just decimates the police. Doug takes Zabel, runs into a room, and like puts a gun to his head. It's like, "Tell me everything you know about Espinosa right now, or this is over." And he's, Zabel's like, "I don't know anything, blah blah blah." And Kirill talks him out of it. They send Zabel with the guards back to get away, and they go back and they fight the Bamboo Man. He beats them and then leaves. They do get 1 hit on him, I think, in the whole thing, and they scan him, and he's not drugged up.
Yeah, he's not in overdrive.
Right. And then it cuts to the bus with Zabel, and he kills the 2 guards, and he drives away. And we find out that this was all orchestrated by him. He's actually the leader of Espinosa. B hid the bodies for him to it was all part of his plan. And the prison guard who was giving him crap the entire time while he was on death row works for him. And he brings him, and he's like, "Yeah, but you made me drop my food, so I'm gonna murder you."
Begin running gag now about not wasting food.
So this is our villain for now. What did you guys think of Zabel?
I kind of liked the Kaiser Sose vibe I was getting from him at first, and then that just kind of fell flat. And I don't know. I was hoping the problem is that this was a silly anime, so they weren't going to make much of him. Because I would have been really digging like him being like super smart as far as like maybe Doug's counterpart, right? And they're always vying for intellectual control of the situation, and that just never happened. But besides that, he was an okay bad guy, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been pretty cool if he was like a Moriarty character. And he kind of was to a degree. I mean, he certainly was in episode 5. In the later episodes, I liked him until he survived something that I don't think he should have survived, and then comes back as just a punchline kind of joke to carry on his running gag meme. So I don't know. He's okay, but I've never actually really liked mob villains, not mob anime in general. And this is where, with him, is where it kind of dips into the mob part. And so, meh.
Like I said before, most of the serious stuff I didn't like in this. Zabel, especially in this episode and the next couple episodes, was one of the serious things I did really like. The usual suspects twist here, that you knew something was up, something's not quite right. Why did they only find a foot? It wasn't like the most crazy twist ever, but I liked it. I liked that, the Bamboo Man worked for him, because we were made to think Bamboo Man was the number one problem. There's another villain in this series who I think is pretty bland compared to Zabel. I thought Zabel had flavor. While I like, later they're going to introduce that he has a good motive behind everything he's doing. And I'm like, yeah, but he's also murdering people for dropping food and not finishing their plates. So don't tell me he's kind of also a good guy. That's insane now. I like the whole, you didn't finish your plate, so I had to murder you. And I thought it was going to tie into the whole sci-fi twist that comes later. Maybe he was from there and they didn't have food. And so wasting food is insane to him. So he murders people if he sees it happen, because that would never be allowed where he's from.
Nope.
But nope, it's just a random trait he has. Zabel was a really good potential of a character who kind of, in the second half, falls flat.
Mm-hmm.
But I did really like this episode.
Yeah, me too.
And then in episode 6, we get this really funny sequence of Doug and Kirill get called in to interrogate a guy who's drunk and wanting to talk to the mayor, and the cops suspect he might be on Anthem. But this is being recorded for live police TV, cops, basically.
Yeah.
To the point where, at least in the English dub, their voices are modified, high pitched, and their faces are blurred, and it's like a 10-minute conversation like that. And I'm like, are they going to do the whole episode like this? Because that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I would have loved that. This was probably my favorite part of the whole anime. I mean, I think there's 3 things that are my favorite, and this is definitely one of them. This whole scene.
Jason, thoughts?
It was all right.
Want to plug anything? Jeez.
I don't know. It wasn't that funny. It felt very distracting from what they were trying to do. There was a stakeout going on, and they're like, oh, you guys are close by. Why don't you throw away 5 days of work? Go ahead and go deal with this drunk. But, don't worry about the stakeout that obviously is more important than literally anything else you have on your docket, because he might be on Anthem, but he's probably drunk. And even Travis calls out, this is probably a waste of time. The whole sequence irritated me.
Wow.
Jason, would you like to plug anything?
Oh, yeah. So we're going to take a great look at this. And
hold on, Nina. I can't. Okay, go ahead. I'll mute myself. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, we got the Baka breakdown coming up with, we're going to go ahead and go into the scene. Not 100% sure why, but Troy thinks it's fantastic. So
definitely an episode you should check out, I guess.
If you want. I hate this anime.
Why did I love this scene? Because it's not something I've ever seen an anime do. And it wasn't just like a 30-second joke. They committed to it. The dialogue felt really realistic to the way like a cop would talk to a drunk person. Like, oh, how is your wife? Or, oh yeah, we're just gonna test if you're sick. Are you a doctor? No, if we were doctors, you would have asked for a doctor. And just like the way they kind of worked with him, even though he's saying just the most random weird stuff, and the dialogue was so well done. And I was actually kind of disappointed that this actually is a major clue to the big second half twist and stuff, that I didn't even notice. I was like, this is just random drunk stuff. I live on the second floor. I live way up there on the second floor. The second floor. Like, it was very funny, very realistic. I love this whole sequence. I'm actually disappointed that it had a lot of purpose in the story.
It actually made me really happy when I found out just how much purpose, because as he was talking, I was trying to figure out how it played in as I was enjoying it. And I kept trying to figure out, like, my favorite part was when he said, "You guys are all guinea pigs, man. We're all guinea pigs down here." And I'm like, that's exactly what like a drugged up hippie would say. Mm-hmm. And it was so good. But at the same time, is there truth to this? And how could it be interpreted? What could it mean? Yeah, it was really good.
So basically, after this show airs, the 7-0 watches the episode. Kirill records it, goes home, and rewatches it again, and notices in the background his missing sister walks by. Mm-hmm. So he goes to Doug, and he's like, "Hey, did you see what was on that episode?" And Doug's like, "I did see what was on that episode." And he's like, "Okay, I'm going to take you there." So they get in the car, and they go, and the narrator says, "You've probably already figured this out, but they are not talking about the same thing."
Yeah, I like this whole sequence, too.
Basically, Doug noticed an Anthem drug mule in the background, and so they go and arrest that guy. And then Kirill's like, "Oh, I thought we were going to find my sister." So they go to Dr. Apple, and he's like, "Yeah, basically we have cameras all over the city because we don't care about privacy. I can track anybody."
This is where the girls are like, "And you use it for peeping, you perv."
Yeah. The funny thing was that he tracks his sister all the way to a bathroom, and he's like, "I couldn't get in there." But then, so after that, they all go to Derek's for a drink, and Derek has a new waitress working there, and it is Kirill's sister.
I thought this was way too convenient, and it, yeah, I'll let Jason say it because he made an observation in the chat. I laughed so hard when I read it.
Jason, you want to talk about your observation when you saw this episode?
So they'd been saying sister this entire time. Sister. Sister comes on screen, and it's the same voice actor that I've heard for multiple male roles. And it didn't really faze me at first. I was just like, that's kind of irritating. Because it's a little odd. And then, like, literally the next few seconds of the next episode, they explain, he's at least a cross-dresser, at most presenting as something else.
Kirill has a brother. Kirill doesn't have a sister. Kirill didn't realize that
until
he goes into the bathroom and his brother's in there peeing as well.
At the urinal right next to him.
Yeah, so this is Mila. I thought it did tie into the mystery. I was kind of like, it's kind of weird that there isn't more of a mystery. There isn't something more sinister going on. It is just kind of coincidental. He just showed up.
And so, I think it is fair. Like, I know there's a lot of concern over which pronouns used, but I think in this case, like, he is actually appropriate because the choice is entirely pragmatic for camouflage.
Yeah, and he even calls out that, I still consider myself, and then he gets cut off. So he does identify as male, but he dresses as female. But I'll probably still call him sister and Mila and her because that's what I wrote in my notes. But
yeah, whatever works.
Yeah. So yeah, and then of course everyone's in the bar, so it's all a big deal to everyone, and they're all discussing it, and they're yelling at Dr. Apple because Dr. Apple found out at the same time, like, the bathroom I tracked her into
was the name.
Our next episode, episode 7, comes to Doug's sad backstory, and this is where I started to really get disappointed in this anime because I was into Doug just being a guy who's good at his job, and he's just here for his job. Doesn't have any sad backstory, and then we get a really big sad backstory. He's visiting a grave. He had talked about how he had a partner who did die, and this is where we learn about him. And while he's coming back from the grave, he stops by an old criminal buddy of his and learns that good-looking Joe has come back into town. And this starts this whole series of, like, him investigating, trying to find where good-looking Joe is. Good-looking Joe basically beating up everyone he talks to or controlling everyone he talks to.
And they take painstaking effort not to show his face for an extended period of time.
Because he's just too good looking.
The moment I heard good looking Joe, I was like, is this supposed to be a stupid play on Handsome Jack? And oh, what do you know?
What's Handsome Jack?
From Borderlands. I just thought it as like a Dick Tracy kind of ironic nickname.
Handsome Jack.
Older reference for you kids.
Yeah, in Borderlands, he literally has a handsome face stretched and then attached to his own.
Oh, wow!
Handsome Jack's the best, though.
Yeah, he is. He's a pretty good bad guy. Better than this one.
So, Kirill is noticing Doug's obsession with this case, so he's trying to figure out what's going on. He finds out the old partner wasn't a partner; it was an informant named Pat, and that Pat is the one who got killed. And so Doug is trying to get to Handsome Joe because he's not sure Handsome Joe's the killer, but he's one of the top suspects, and he's never been able to solve that case. This all comes down to Doug's old boss gets kidnapped. He goes to face Handsome Joe and his men, while at the same time,
good looking Joe.
Yeah, sorry. Kirill figures out what's going on and goes to Travis and is like, "We have to go save Doug." And Travis is like, should maybe he just do what he's got to do? And then the next scene is him. They're going outside the car, and Kirill like, I can't believe I almost let me talk me into not going to help him. What are you? You're an idiot. That was pretty funny. Again, kind of playing off that like I'm the wise boss. I'm like, no, you're an idiot. Why would I listen to you? Doug. I don't know how much I care to describe this, guys. Basically, he walks into a room full of guys with guns and he's like, "No, I'm gonna win. It's fine." And Joe takes Doug's own gun, tries to shoot him with it, and there's a flash bullet in it instead. Or it was 3 empty chambers, and the 4th was a flash bullet. And then Doug runs around, beats up every bad guy in there.
Yeah, I think he shoots a couple of them, but not fatally.
Right. Yep. And then goes to take down Joe. And Doug's old boss was a druggie informant who turned on him. He's the reason Joe knew everything about everything. Mm-hmm. And we also learned at the same time that the informant wasn't really an informant. It was just a shoe shiner 12-year-old girl who worked as an information broker, but Doug never used her because he didn't want her to, be part of the crime life, but she refused to get out. He tried to give her a gun to protect herself, and she yelled at him that cops should never break the rules. So he has her gun, and he goes to shoot Joe with it, and it misfires and explodes in his hand. And so Kirill and Travis show up, and everyone gets arrested, and they're like, Doug, you weren't really going to shoot him? He's like, yeah.
Yeah, I knew it'd blow up.
Yeah.
It was definitely a great equilibrium style of fight, but completely unbelievable.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think this anime is full of Easter eggs. I mean, I was reading on TV Tropes, just skimming through some of the Easter eggs that they had noticed there. And I mean, there's a Ghostbusters reference. The old man in the bar might be Stan Lee. There's the Terminator one we mentioned earlier. And now there's ones that you guys are pointing out possibly. I'm horrible at catching Easter egg references. And I'm kind of wondering if there's a lot that we're missing. I mean, there's Charlie Angel's
right.
show.
Yeah, there's definitely pop culture references all through there. And I'm sure we're missing some of them.
And I bet there's also a bunch of references for the Tiger and Bunny anime too. I imagine that there is an audience that already exists with Tiger and Bunny that probably absolutely loves this because of the references.
I guess my issue with this episode, besides what I've already stated, is that it just feels so different from everything that came before. Mm-hmm. The humor is way, way down. This is way more melodramatic and way more superhero-y. And like, I'm going to take on 15 guys because I'm Doug. Instead of Doug just being a really good guy who's really good at his job. He's now a guy who can take on an entire house full of mob guys.
It's like the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock. He's getting like all the calculations of exactly how to do everything perfectly.
Then we have the prom episode.
Oh God, yes, this is the one I shook my head on. Oh God, I hated this episode.
The mystery was okay.
Yeah.
The villains. I liked the villain's motive, I guess, in that she was this plain Jane. I mean, do we want to recap?
Well, like just the whole concept of like how some of the students are like the prom is looksism, and like they're trying to sign a petition to get the prom taken away because it makes some people feel bad and everything, and that the prom had such a profound effect on Max's life because of her backstory, and I'm just like, wow, this is so like petty.
Bad.
And yes, this is horrible writing, I think. But I love the transformation though, like a Manticore bee creature. That was cool, and I liked that character too. She was interesting, the villain.
It sounds like you've never been to a prom.
You are correct, and I am not scarred from that.
But like I said, the villains. There's a whole mystery about like who's assaulting people for the prom, and it's clearly like taking out possible prom queens, and they have to be like very delicate with this. So they go in as drug awareness group, but they're not delicate at all. They just go straight to investigating, and all of the students are like, oh, they're clearly here investigating the assault, so let's all just start running up and telling them stuff, and giving them suspects. But the person behind it is Camilla. She was basically, have you guys seen the movie Clueless?
Unfortunately.
Okay.
I don't remember.
She's the ugly duckling girl, and she was trying to help the girl who was nice to her win prom queen, and she's been using Anthem to make herself pretty and be part of the popular girls, and so she's been doing all this to help with the prom. And then when Max catches her, she anthems up again and goes into overdose, which is different than overdrive because it turns her into a full-on bee, and then Max goes after her and convinces her like this isn't what you want, so she stops so she can get her medicine. And then we also learn Max's backstory of, she used to be a girly girl. She had a guy friend she wanted to go to prom with, and then he wanted to go in a dress, and so she cut her hair, and then they got laughed at, and now she's a cop because he ran away and became a drug abuser.
And this is where it says Max became a policeman after she couldn't go to prom. I'm just like, okay, so how'd she get her motorcycle? Well, the guy gave her motorcycle. How did she get her haircut? Okay, well, because she had to pretend to be the dude, and she just decided to stick with it. And now it defines her, so okay. Someone else made the choice for her.
Her motorcycle's cool, though, and I like her look.
Motorcycle's awesome. Yeah. He's got the interesting punk grunge 1980s look.
Yeah.
Which has endeared today.
This episode does have one of my favorite lines, though, when they're at Derek's diner, and they have to run out, and and Doug calls back, Derek's special number 2 might want to change his name.
I actually chuckled at that.
I don't remember that, so it might not have been in the sub.
The next episode, this is where we meet the jet roller skates, the jet pack, and the view jack. The view jack is much more important than the other two. I thought they were going to be like, here's 3 cool equipment. We're not using them. We're real cops. But then they used them all. And so, again, I was disappointed. I like the idea that they're just plain cops doing just plain stuff. And then they're like, no, roller rocket skates. And,
But I did think it was funny that only Kirill got to use them. Like, nobody else used them. Did he just make one set? Or was it just that the girls refused to use them and only Kirill wanted to?
And they didn't become permanent either, so that was fine. The view, really, this episode is about introducing the view jack, and so to set that up,
and also establishing a history of Kirill coming in to save Doug when Doug didn't do that for him, and now Doug's indebted, and yada yada. A little bit of an for him,
The case is a candidate for mayor. His daughter has been kidnapped. It's by Esperanza, so. The military is asking the 7-0 to help, and we meet Brian Cooper, who we will talk about later. And he's basically the military secretary, and he wants 7-0 to work on this. They stake out the ransom drop, but when they're basically blocked from following it, and Doug and this candidate both get abducted We find out that the candidate is in on the kidnapping. It was fake to help boost his polls, but it's actually being overseen by Zabel, who really just wanted Doug. And so they kidnap Doug. They get rid of the other two, the daughter, and Durbin is his name.
They just beat the crap out of him,
Right.
like the other one.
Right. So then they start interrogating and torturing Doug. I thought this was a cool twist. What they want, though, is the cure for Anthem, because they don't want people dying from Anthem and turning into monsters. That's not the goal. So he wants to get the drug formula to cure people, because the drugs they use in their cure bullets, each individually, is dangerous. And if you don't have the exact right mixture, it's not right. So he's trying to figure out that formula so they can have better control of things. But because Doug is wearing his magic contact lens, they never really show how they get that in their eye. I guess they're contact lenses.
They do, actually. They show it later with Zabel. He gets one.
Okay. And they're able to see where he is, and they figure out it's a parking garage, and they locate. So Kirill comes up with the idea of, hey, I'll put on those jetpack and rocket skates, and we will go save Doug. And they do. They basically, I love that Pink is like, I'm just going to start bombing the hell out of that place with my rifle.
It's great because Travis is like, go ahead, guys, because the military will handle all public and private property destruction expenses. Go ahead. Do anything you have to get our guy back.
And then Kirill rocket skates around the garage. Meanwhile, Doug's going like Lethal Weapon. Like, he literally breaks free and is running and shooting, and he jumps off, and Kirill catches him, and then they skate all the way to the roof and jump to the helicopter.
Why did he jump?
Because he knew he was part of the captain.
Yeah, he knew Kirill. He's trusted.
Did he even know Kirill was anywhere near him, let alone had equipment to save them both from a fall?
It would have been told to him in Morse code.
Yeah, Doug, oh my God, you're right. It's the Morse code. Doug analyzes everything, even what's not visible or possible to be known.
I'm out.
Corbin confesses, and then Cooper takes a special interest in Kirill when he hears his motto. And Kirill always has the same motto, which is, don't think, feel so good.
God, I hate this motto so much.
I like that it's a twist on like what an anime protagonist motto would be, but it sounds ridiculously stupid.
I cringe every time I hear it.
But the other characters do too. Even Doug's like, that can't be right. That can't be the motto.
It sounds a little creepy.
And he recognized it as Nikai's prayer.
Mm-hmm. Part of the Nikai prayer.
And then we go to episode 10.
I know this seems like a really long anime.
Which is the doctor episode
with
the hospital. Doug's in the hospital. There's like, oh my God. It's just the plots they're just not great. They're not solid, and it's hard to describe.
I think the one thing we find out from this particular episode is that the majority of the quote unquote bad guys are actually just trying to discover something that's going to help people. It just happens to be semi-dangerous, and the military won't give them the antidote.
Mm-hmm. And of course, we do find out later that there is a plot-related reason for that too.
Right, but like Zabel has an semi-altruistic reason for doing this. The doctor has a really good reason for this. Most of the people that are taking it are either down on their luck and they just want better lives. Like, there's very little evil intent with this really dangerous drug, but then we always end up getting monsters they have to put down, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, I should call it. There's a melodramatic thread in this story about a son and his dying father, and he keeps trying to buy prostitutes the entire episode. But again, it doesn't come back up. So I just wanted to say that does happen. But mostly this is about a case where people from this who are terminal are dying from this hospital of anthem overdose. After leaving the hospital, they investigate the doctors. It comes out that the doctors are giving terminal patients this, and it's basically a testing ground for Espinosa for the cure. They are purposely giving people anthem, overdriving them, and then pumping in different mixtures of the chemicals since they're going to die anyway. The doctor points out, like, this Anthem, we learn it fixes your DNA. Basically, it comes in and it's a DNA editor, and it could really save lives. And he's like, this should be something we should be working towards using to help people. They won't let me take it to trial, so I'm using this gang to do it, and the gang's using him.
And of course, this is where you said you had a theory about why Kirill is the one who actually understands and explains the genetic manipulation part of it.
Yeah, so we find out that Kirill in college wrote a paper on genetics that like blows minds. And
in high school, because he was doing it to get a scholarship to go to college.
Yeah, okay, so he was in high school, and like Dr. Apple's like, oh my god, this paper's so great, and he's like, oh, I wrote that paper. He's like, what? And everyone's like, you're an idiot, how did you write this? And he's like, well, it was in a manga I read, and so I just did a bunch of research on it to write something cool. Well, because Kirill's a superhuman.
Yeah, he's got like some kind of like savant nature, which you could be right. It could be just coming from his superhuman origin,
or it could be recessed memories he doesn't fully have, because he would have been around people who did a lot with genetics. Like this is all very relevant to his specific DNA, so it could just be stuff that was already there.
And Jason, we'll find out when we watch the next season, because it says to be continued.
Sorry,
that's a great look.
I think I'm sick that week.
At the end of this episode, Cooper offers Kirill a job with the military. And in the next episode, he's definitely going to take it. The narrator's like, oh, he seems distracted. Like maybe he's not going to take it. And he's like, oh my God, that'd be awesome. He's like, oh, he's already decided.
Yeah.
Actually, one of my favorite parts about this is he's like asking everybody, so would you join the military? And they're like, yeah. It's like, well, if they offered it to you right now, how about, would you like take it now? And like everyone puts their face in his, like, yes.
Yep.
He meets with Cooper again, and Cooper reveals the reason he wants to work with him is because there is a place called the Second Floor. If you remember the drunk, he said that it's a separate civilization of humans that live on the second sun.
They are the second sun. The second sun is basically a giant space station that glows.
Okay. And that Kirill is actually from there. He is a special person who they've been looking for a long time. And
so it's like Alita.
Yeah. I actually thought, and maybe I never would have thought this before. I have to give some kudos to art class. It did actually change the way I think a little bit. It's good and bad. The moon, the way that they handled as Brian Cooper was describing all the things that he was revealing to Kirill, the moon kept just sitting up in the sky shining. And whenever you were thinking, oh man, it sounds like he could be hiding something, clouds would start passing over the moon to one degree or another. And it actually was a really nice reflection of whether he's being completely open and honest or whether he's concealing information and just telling you just letting a little bit of that light shine through. And I actually really liked the subtlety of that. It's pretty cool.
And Jeremy won't be on Baka Breakdown with it. No, that's a really good thing to point out. That was cool. This is where I was like theory started going in my head. I'm like, oh, maybe there's a reason the hospital looks like it looked. Maybe this is all like they're just cells in a body, and like why would there be and nope, exactly what they say it is. There is nothing special going on. So yeah, there is a second human race out there, and our main character came from there. And so he goes to Mila. Mila is like, yep, that's totally what happened. That's totally why I started dressing like a girl to hide my identity.
And it's why I abandoned you, so that
so
you couldn't track us as easily.
They couldn't find us. And he even Mila says like, I was never coming back. We were never going to meet again because that was the only way to be safe. But then we met, and I was like, I'm already a waitress here, so
I don't want to find another job and change my address.
And also somehow Mila's the funder of Derek's loan.
Yes, we find that on the final episode that Mila is rich and paying Derek.
Really weird.
Yeah,
So,
very, very weird.
That just felt like a throwaway joke in the final episode. I didn't read
Yeah.
too much into it.
Yeah.
Kirill has a conversation with Doug about advice, and he calls him partner, and he realizes that he's finally kind of earned Doug's respect like he always wanted. So he goes to call Cooper about the job, but he can't get a hold of him. Meanwhile, the 7-0 is raiding a hideout. At the same time, Zabel raids the 7-0 and captures Dr. Apple. He lets Kirill know. Kirill lets Doug know. When Doug leaves, Pink and Yuri realize, and they follow him. So this all basically ends up in a shootout at the 7-0 where they're all in the room with Dr. Apple, and Zabel gets away through a helicopter. And his goon fires a bomb. They used a bomb to blow up the wall, and he fires another one, and Yuri tanks it, and then realizes she's going to blow up, so she jumps out the window, and she mentions she doesn't get to go to the hot springs, which they had been talking about last episode, I think.
No, I don't know. But yeah, this was one of those 3 awesome moments for me, because I was like, they're going to do it. They're going to commit. They actually killed Yuri. I'm impressed. I like this.
Yes. I was like, that is ballsy for what's been mostly a comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good for you.
Yep.
I was skeptical whether she was going to be dead or not.
Yeah, especially it being a comedy. I didn't know.
Good to be skeptical.
She was also the only character with like a romantic connection in the entire series. So I was like, okay, it had echoes through the entire other characters, so it was good. Until it wasn't, but
yeah,
we always complain about that.
But at least they call it out at the end. Yeah,
they do, and they set it up beforehand too. It wasn't completely out of left field. They did kind of hint that there was something going on there.
Even to the point of saying it's not what you think at that previous time.
Yeah. And then we come to the big reveal. When Sabel's in the helicopter, the helicopter pilot turns around with a gun on him. But then he shows up back at the base, and he has the helicopter's pilot with a bullet hole. And he comes up to B, and he's like, "You tried to have the helicopter pilot kill me. Why'd you turn against me?" He's like, "I thought we were in this to help the human race basically evolve through Anthem once we figure out the cure, so you don't turn into a freaky monster and die. This was going to be awesome, and now you're not for that. You're all just in this for your own stuff." And B's like, "Yeah, it turns out I don't like you at all." And then all the Esperanza leaders try to kill B, and he's superhuman and kills them all, and even seems to kill Zabel. But like Jeremy mentioned, he doesn't. The shot was great though, because B is like, "Oh, what about not finishing your food?" And then the last thing we see is Zabel with like his mouth just shoved full of food.
Yeah,
that was cool.
I thought that was a great ending for him. Should just stop there.
Yeah,
perfect.
Well, this can't take anything seriously.
And then B's face transforms into Cooper, and I was super disappointed that Cooper's the real identity and not B.
Yeah, I agree.
So now is the time to talk about the real villain of this whole story, who we thought B was the real villain, and then we first met him, we find out he was not, and then we find out he is. So Brian Cooper, the Bamboo Man, B. What'd you think of him? Okay, not Jason.
Okay, I like Joker from Hunter x Hunter. It's probably not Hunter X. I always read it out. Joker from Hunter x Hunter was always an interesting character to me, just because of how strange he was and how he kind of bears a resemblance to Joker from Batman, but in a superhuman way. It's so creepy and so strange. And so when I saw B, Bamboo Man, the only thing that I didn't like about him was his stupid red teeth. I hate those stupid red teeth.
I thought that was cool. I thought that was scary. I was like, that's really creepy.
Oh, I didn't like it because it looked out of place, and it looked like the rest of his attire did such a good job already. It was just gaudy and silly to me. But different strokes for different folks, right? Mm-hmm. But as far as the Brian Cooper persona, when he was describing that with the moon, I stopped and I thought, okay, I'm getting the sense that he's concealing something. And then I looked at his goatee again, and I was like, that's a villain goatee. You're a bad guy.
Yeah, his eyebrows had this weird like hook thing going on.
All the angular stuff. Yeah.
Wait,
All he needed to do was eating an apple, and like
when an important military figure came in 2/3 of the way through the story, I'm like, bad guy. But I actually thought it was Zabel because they're both bald. I'm like, oh, Zabel's wearing a costume, guys. This is obvious. This is an easy one.
Yeah.
obvious bad guys, obvious.
Yep. But I actually kind of like what they decided to do with him, and I like the character's origin, and I like the fact that at the end we find out that, post-credit sequence, that he's the weakest of the 144 genetic.
That's too many.
That's too many. Exactly. So no, I actually liked him. I thought it was pretty good.
Okay, Jason, did you think of something?
I actually liked that it wasn't Bamboo Man. I thought it made a little more sense that if he was going to be a genetically modified soldier, that he was a soldier first, monster second. And also that that was the reason that they couldn't read Anthem on him, because he wasn't juiced on Anthem. He was a genetically modified soldier. Past that, he's a bad guy. Very run of the mill.
I don't like him, especially compared to Zabel. I thought like Zabel, like having altruistic motives is like, oh, that's kind of interesting. He's not pure evil. He's not doing this to hurt people. It's like, that's really much more interesting. And then there's like, here's this super strong bad guy. And he reminded me, and I've already kind of mentioned Resident Evil. You reminded me of Resident Evil villain. Like, I'm super bad, and oh no, I'm losing, so I'm going to inject myself. Now I'm super, super bad. I'm Super Shredder. And he felt very mustache twirling villain to me. Yeah. I like that he wasn't completely one note. He was like, I just want to do a really good job, and if that doesn't work, the number one priority is just staying super strong.
Now I'm surprised. Did you with his job that he was sent down there for? It seemed like there was a little bit of complexity to it. At least that's kind of what I saw.
Yeah, and like I said, it makes sense in that it's not just one motive. It's like, if I can get this kid back to my people, I'm going to be a hero. That's going to be awesome. Mm-hmm. But if not, as long as there's never an anti way to stop me, that's the most important thing. That was about the only thing I liked. The rest of it just felt very one note. I'm mustache twirly evil guy.
It was really weird to find out that through him, the medicine showed up, and through him, the anthem showed up. So the fact that this, what are they called? This group that they're in? I always forget. I want to call them C, but it's like 7 or something like that.
7-0.
7-0. Okay. 7-0. The reason they have their medicine kits is because of him. But at the same time, Zabel is trying to, reverse engineer that to be able to control the effects of Anthem. But he's afraid that Zabel is going to discover how to control the effects of Anthem, and then that will have some kind of negative effect on his abilities, because his are produced by traces of Anthem modifying his genes. But the weird part is he wasn't concerned about what Dr. Apple would discover in messing with the medicines and already knowing the formula to the point that he does. I mean, clearly Zabel's characters, his doctors and stuff, they don't even know what Dr. Apple already knows. I thought that was kind of weird.
Maybe it's because he considers he has control over Dr. Apple, whereas Zabel wants to take this worldwide and just run wild with it. Whereas, it's not like Dr. Apple is going to publish this online. It's government secret. He knows that. He's not telling anyone. He's not letting anyone else know this formula.
Well, I think what I was considering was the fact that the formula as Dr. Apple has it can't affect him. But worried that Zabel's formula might eventually affect him. And I just thought that was weird. But it could be that, like you were saying, maybe Zabel's people could discover something that Dr. Apple would never think to look at because he's on a different path even.
Right. But that's a good point. So basically, the 7-0 department is all bummed out. I do like that they still committed to the Yuri's a robot joke when Kirill is like, guys, I have to tell you something. Yuri was a robot. It's like no one even blinks. They'll just stay being sad. The fact that they stuck to that joke even in the sad scene, I respected. But Kirill just
confirmed for me that they were just gonna bring her back anyways. But
Yeah. Well, when they mentioned that there was a second body, I was like, oh, she's coming back.
Well, but they even point out, like, even if we bring her back, it's not really her. And so I felt like they were literally cutting off routes of bringing her back. Like, yeah, she's a robot, and you could theoretically rebuild her and bring her back, but to us, that isn't good enough.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, oh, okay. And then they even, the core, I found her core and it's damaged. We definitely cannot bring her back. And I'm like, oh, okay, they are committing. Yeah. They did not. Kirill disappears because he's blaming himself. Everyone's sad, but he blames himself especially. So he goes to Cooper and he's like, okay, you were right. People are going to get hurt if I stay in the 7-0, so I'm going to join the military. And then Cooper doesn't waste any time, like, haha, I got you. I was the evil villain the whole time. And I'm also from space, and I'm going to get you home, because turns out Anthem is our super drug that we use to make super soldiers, because we're dealing with problems in space. You can't even imagine. We needed super soldiers, but it's not working great, even though it seems to be working just fine. But we still needed to send it down here to do drug testing, so we just basically flooded your streets with drugs. You guys are all guinea pigs, which the drunk guy did say. And yeah, I have a rocket. I told everyone I can send you back in it, but it can't. It's basically just a radio signal I'm sending out to call them to come get you.
Because your blood has
yeah, you're right.
Antibodies. An antibody.
Kirill has natural antibodies, which is why his parents hid him, because they didn't want him being a test subject.
And both his parents are genetically modified soldiers. We find that out later too.
So does that mean what's his sister's name?
Meryl or something like that?
Martha?
Mila.
Yeah, so does that mean Mila has the antibodies too?
No.
Nope. Because only Kirill is special.
Oh. That makes sense.
They even point like, why didn't they want you, Mila? And she's like, yeah, Kirill's different than me.
Huh.
Mm-hmm. Doug and Dr. Apple figure out the same thing at the same time, because Sabel was wearing one of the contact lenses when he had broken in. He stole one and kept it on, and so they were able to use the eye jack and see what he saw, so they know that B and Cooper are the same person. And so they have to go, they've staged this big rescue. So Doug shows up and they attack in this big double-decker bus that's actually Derek's restaurant, and they fake an attack by Esperanza so that all the security forces and scientists will leave the base.
They also bring Granny from Kirill's apartment complex, and they use guns using Kirill's contact in the streets in order to get these guns that are basically from the black market with their serial numbers scraped off. And it's so strange to see the grandma, who we have had really no exposure to, wielding weapons and helping them like she's part of the team. It is.
I thought for sure they'd be like, and she was 7-0 the whole time, or retired 7-0, and they don't even do that.
There's one moment where they say something like Kirill is talking about his grandfather or something, and the camera kind of pans over across the old lady, and I'm like, are you serious? Are you telling me that his grandpa's still alive and is cross-dressing as the old woman that's in charge of his apartment? Like, is that what you're... I kind of wouldn't put it past this anime that could be it, but I don't think that's it.
That would be hilarious if it was. And when I say hilarious, I mean be really dumb.
Yes, it would be really dumb, but hilarious. But there was nothing concrete about that either. Like, maybe that's just my perception of it. I don't know.
So Doug shows up pretending to be like, oh, I'm here to help. And he grabs Kirill, and they have to run away. Cooper figures out almost immediately. And then they go and hide, and Doug's like, okay, I have a bullet that will neutralize him. We made from your antibodies. I have Anthem I'm going to use to jack myself up, and we're going to take him down. And then Cooper shows up with Mila, and he's like, hey, I caught your sister. And they have a standoff, but they surrender, and then he shoots Doug. Then he goes and starts his self-destruct sequence, because you always start the self-destruct sequence before you start your evil plan. Why not overlap?
Hey, gotta get all the bases.
Yeah, he turns on the self-destruct, tells the military to blow up the base, and then activates the rocket. Then Kirill tries to stab him with the antibodies. It doesn't work. But Mila had the real antibodies or another antibodies.
I love the fact that up to this point, we're told that like the antibodies are made from his urine and
piss bullets.
Piss bullets. And then he's like, wait, you made this out of my pee? No, it's blood. And did you have blood in his piss? Like, I was trying to figure this out so bad. And no, it turns out it's just totally Doug being an ass the whole time. Like,
Doug even laughs when the sister gets kidnapped. We find out. Okay. Because he's being depowered, he runs in, grabs the super anthem that Zabel had made for Doug. Because, oh, by the way, Zabel's alive and is in on this plan.
Yeah.
Slaps it on him, turns into a tyrant from Resident Evil. It's super. And then all the 7-0s show up. I love that he tanked 3 sniper bullets straight to the head, like from point blank. But yeah, they battle him, and then they're like, "Oh, by the way, you can't make antibodies like in a single day. That's crazy." And Doug, stands up. He's like, "Yeah, I tricked you. We just needed you to dose with Anthem. It's regular Anthem, and now we can cure you." And they depower him, but the self-destruct goes off, so he gets away. They all run out of the building, but Doug and Kirill go slower.
They take some other route for a reason that I didn't understand.
Okay. Yeah, so the rest get out one way. Doug and Kirill, they're like running through the halls, and Kirill's like, this is my hero moment. But it's really Doug's hero moment. I'm the sidekick, and it's great. This is the best ever.
This is when the music should swell, and the music is swelling simultaneously.
And this would have been a great moment for the narrator to be like, the end, like everyone was fine, and we're not doing that. But no, they go through with it. They jump out, rubbles everywhere. Doug, are you okay? He gives a thumbs up. And then Yuri shows up in the helicopter. Kirill jumps on the ladder, and then you see Doug's buried in rubble and was giving it a thumbs up anyway. He's like, "Oh, I guess I have to die," and then explodes and sends him flying into the helicopter anyway, and so he's fine.
Yeah.
And then this actually made me mad. As much as a comedy and silly as this has been, Zabel shows up, finds Cooper, tells him, "You have to finish your food. Did you think you could kill all the characters of the series?"
Yes.
He completely breaks the fourth wall for the first time ever outside of the narration. Shoves a gun in his mouth and kills him.
Yeah. I think it was, do you think that all of the cast members get to survive? That's what it was. Yeah.
I think he said something a little different in the dub. It was something like, "Did you think you could wipe out all the main cast members and you'd get to live?" or something. Anyway.
It's something about being the villain of the second season.
Right. The Yuri is still alive because the real Yuri had coffee spilled on her halfway through the anime. So we've been dealing with a fake Yuri the whole time, which means someone important still died, but whatever. No one cares about her.
Nope. Well, I mean, it is interesting that the original Yuri now wears her shattered core on her necklace. I thought that was a nice touch, and it actually is something that, like, if you were making a character for a role playing game, that would be a really nice touch as like part of their background.
But basically, because of everything that went down, the people in space are going to, like, they're not going to quit, and the 7 is like, "Well, we're ready for him. We get to stay in business now," and everyone's happy. The final joke is, you hear the soldiers being like, "He was the weakest, the 144," and then the narrator goes, "That's too many," and that's the end of this anime.
And then it says, "To be continued."
Question mark.
Oh, does it have a question mark?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Okay, final reviews.
Yeah, Jeremy goes first because this is him, right?
Okay. Oh, I wanted to hear so bad. Okay. Yeah, I for all the reasons that I complained about already and you guys have complained about, I totally agree. It starts out good, I think. The humor is interesting, but they kind of get a little bit too caught up for my taste in trying to tell a story instead of just to play off of their silly tropes. Narrator takes a back seat. I wish he would be in the front more often. Kirill kind of stops being the butt of jokes, and that's what I loved. I loved it when he was the butt of jokes, and I wanted more of that. all the characters kind of morph a little bit out of their really silly roles, like Doug being the snarky guy. And I just really wanted them to go back to that. Not a big fan of the twists, the way things happened. Yeah. So in the end, I got to give it it definitely made me laugh. I got to be fair. 2 out of 5.
Jason, how about you?
I'm giving it a 2. The reason I'm not giving it a 1 is I didn't hate myself watching this. It definitely wasn't Kisniver levels.
Nope.
No, I'll never let you let go. But it's interesting. I don't know if you guys saw when it flipped from like really, really CGI to kind of CGI with the 2D drawing. It was really jarring.
Yes, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, because the whole thing was CG, but the thing is that they did the cool 2D like layered effect on a lot of it. But yeah, when they went full CG, it got wonky.
Never go full CG.
Never go.
Or even just the one. The fact, I agree with you. Whenever it would switch, it would be like, oh, okay. I definitely noticing you going back and forth.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, it was silly in a way I don't like, and like I said in the beginning, this was written for somebody, just not me. So
I chuckled, I laughed. It had a lot of potential. I feel like it didn't quite live up to what it was going for. So a 3 out of 5 Bakas for me.
You gave it a 3, really?
Yeah, I was entertained enough to give it a 3. Other than being bored a few episodes.
I think Troy has a better funny bone than us.
It definitely gets +1 just for the narrator alone. All right, so our next anime that we are watching is Kaguya-Sama Love is War. This is a psychological romantic comedy.
Yeah.
You're doing
it. I will say this is way out of our wheelhouse, and I honestly was probably not going to pick this because I think Jeremy and Jason will probably have a hard time with it. I wanted to pick Baki, but it's 2 seasons long, and that's a lot of for 1 month. That's just so much manliness into 1 month. I can't do that. And I probably will on my own watch Boogie Pop and Others, which is a retelling of the Boogie Pop Phantom, but holding closer to the original story. But it's 18 episodes, which doesn't really fit into our format, and it's one of those ones where I guess the story is not told in a straight line, so we would want to break it down in 1 episode. We wouldn't want to do 2 episodes to it, and 18's too much. So we are doing Kaguya-Sama Love is War. This is about 2 high school students. They are student council leaders, and they are perfect for each other. They're both narcissists and super smart and tactical geniuses. And they actually are in love with each other, but they can't admit it. They have to get the other one to admit it first. So the entire series is about them trying to outwit and tactically outmaneuver each other to get the other one to confess their feelings first. It's like Death Note if the stakes are just your crush.
I think you sold me on this. Actually, if it gets deep enough in the tactical realm, I'm game.
Yeah, and it's done as a comedy. I really like mind games and stuff like Death Note. So it's Death Note comedy, so we'll see how it goes. It has really high ratings. It was one of the best animes of the season. So that's what I'm picking. It's only one season.
It's something for you to watch while you're recovering, Jason.
Watch it on your pain pills.
That's right. You'll love it.
If you have thoughts on Double Decker, we would love to hear them. You can reach us on our Twitter at Baka Podcast. You can reach us on our email, theanimebakaclub@gmail.com, or leave a comment wherever you found this episode. And we will get back to you. Thank you, everyone who's been leaving comments. It's fantastic. You guys have been great. With that, we are running out of time for this episode, so we got to get going.
Thanks for listening.
Don't think, feel so good.
Sayonara.